Hi there. Today I'm going to talk about the chromatic scale, what it means, how it applies to the guitar, why it is that we should learn it, why we should be interested in it, all those types of things. Okay, so basically the chromatic scale, well, a scale in general, is any sequence of notes which starts at a given note and ends at that same equivalent note an octave higher or lower. In other words, it ascends from one note to its octave higher equivalent or lower, and that's basically what a scale is. So it's a sequence of notes. Now the chromatic scale, on the other hand, while it's still a sequence of notes, it is the complete sequence of notes, in the sense that basically what happens is it is every note that comprises Western music, and as such, if we have the chromatic scale, we have every note on the neck of the guitar. So that's basically what the chromatic scale is. So I'll talk about what its constituents are, what its notes are, and why we bother to learn it. Basically, to start with, we talk about three different types of notes in Western music, and these are sharps, naturals and flats. Now the natural notes are ones which are not sharpened or flattened, and I'll explain what that means. Natural notes, there are 7 within a given octave, and they are A, B, C, D, E, F and G. So we've got 7 notes making up the first 7 letters of the alphabet. Convention generally dictates that it's spelt from C through to C, but we'll begin with A just to make the exposition a little clearer. Okay, so we've established that we've got 7 natural notes to work with. Now the chromatic scale is 12 notes. So what happens is that we find that in between these 7 notes is additional notes. So we take any adjacent pair of these 7 notes, and the easiest way to start is to take the letter A. So I'll just play this top A here on the first string. Now what happens is, if I move that note up a half step or a semitone or 1 fret, then I have sharpened it. If I move a further semitone, half step or fret, they're all equivalent meanings of the same movement, I've sharpened it yet again. I've sharpened it twice. Similarly, if I start at A and I move back or down a half step or a semitone or 1 fret, then I've flattened it, and so on. So basically what that means is, in between our natural notes we have sharps and flats. So how it works is that the basic method of functioning is that we take a note, we move up a half step, it becomes that note sharpened, we move up, sharpen it again, and we get the next natural note in the sequence. There are exceptions to this, which I'll discuss in a moment. But basically what this means in the context of what I just discussed is that we have A, and then we have A sharp, and then we have B. Similarly, if we start at B and we move down towards A, we have B, B flat being equivalent to A sharp, and then A. So we have all these equivalences going on in music. Now, the easiest rule of thumb to think of when memorizing the notes that make up the chromatic scale is that you've got your 7 natural notes, A, B, C, D, E, F and G, and that in between each pair of those is a sharp which is equivalent to a flat, with 2 exceptions, and those 2 exceptions are in between C, B and C, and E and F. Now there's fundamental reasons for why that's the case, and that's beyond the scope of what we're going to discuss today. I'll merely introduce it and state it as fact, and we will think of the guitar in those terms. Okay, so that basically we look at how that translates to the neck of the guitar. How does this actually work? Well, for a start, we'll begin on the open E string, the top E string, which is this note here. Now what happens is, we began by discussing it from A to A an octave higher. Well, the same thing happens if we go from E, we go E to A to E. So it just revolves around. So to put that into context and explain it physically, if I start with the E note, then I play the first fret, I'm playing an F, because as we discussed, E sharp is F. There's no sharp in between E and F. Or F flat is E. Okay, so we've got E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B sharp is equal to C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and then we're at E again, an octave higher. So they're the 12 notes. Now when it comes to the equivalences, we can go further, and we will in subsequent lessons, but it's easiest just to think of it as those being the 12 notes for now. So if we were to descend, on the other hand, we could start with this E at the 12th fret, drop that back a half step, E flat, which is D sharp, D flat, which is C sharp, C flat, which is B flat, which is A sharp, A flat, which is G sharp, G flat, which is F sharp, F, and then back to E. Now, with that particular exercise, obviously my guitar has 24 frets, so I'll just get that same pattern repeated from that 12th fret at E up to the 24th. It'll just be another octave of the same sequence of notes. Okay, so we've established that. Now, why have I started on one string? Well, it makes the exposition a lot easier. It's much easier to visualize what happens on one string and to see the layout of the notes and to become familiar with them. It can be a lot easier to lose your way when we start crossing strings, though we'll definitely do that as well. But it's, you know, if we just look at a single string at a time, then it's a bit like looking at a keyboard or something similar, where it's all laid out linearly. Now, some of you may feel a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of actually breaking out of the first 4 or 5 frets and actually moving that far up the neck, but it's a great habit to get into early in your playing, because it'll give you much more melodic and harmonic possibilities and sounds that are completely different to boxed in playing, and you can combine the two and you can become a much more complete player. So it's good to get out of that first 4 fret span as early as you can in your playing days. Ultimately, what would be good to do is to play it in terms of full shifts instead of just playing one finger at a time. So what that means is if I start with the top E, then I play F, F sharp, G, G sharp, position shift to A sharp, B, C, position shift to C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and then descend. Now what makes the chromatic scale so powerful, albeit a little bit boring because it's every single note on the neck of the guitar, is again we see the layout of all the notes, but we can look at other scales as being subsets of these. In other words, if we choose some of these notes and leave others out, then we have other scales. So the chromatic scale, as complete as it is a good starting point for us to visualize that. Okay, so in the next section what I'll do is discuss it within the boxed in position of the first 4th fret crossing strings, and then we'll discuss the methodology that we've just used to all other strings so that we ultimately learn every note on the neck of the guitar. This should be our mission, and that you should take your time as much as you need to get through it. If you have any questions, please email us or get onto the forum and make a discussion, and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, good luck. See you.